Hello everyone, welcome to Abnormal Investigations. I'm pretty sure the story, or I guess the encounter that I'm about to share with you is something probably like you've never heard. It's a story like I've never heard, and it raised a lot of questions, and honestly I can't wait to see what you all think about it. This comes out of Virginia, and I think the name of the state and what you're going to hear may go together. I'm really looking forward to sharing this one with you. I shared it with Brooks a little bit. She has an idea of this encounter. She was very intrigued about it. She thought it was going to be a very, very good one. We discussed this one. So I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys. And let's see what you think. I'll never forget the summer of 1979. I was 10 years old. Sorry guys, my bad. 16 years old and excited to spend the weekend at my grandmother's cabin. The cabin was nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, surrounded by woods and creeks. The cabin was special. No running water or electricity, but I didn't mind. I loved the simplicity of it all. My grandmother would tell stories of her childhood, and I'd listen for hours. The woods were my playground. I would explore for hours, discovering new creeks and hidden waterfalls. My grandmother would warn me to be careful, but I knew the woods like the back of my hand, or I thought. As I settled into my routine, I decided to spend the day exploring the creek. I followed it to the river, then hiked up the mountain to the big rock. The sun was beating down on me, but I didn't let that stop me. I loved the freedom of being in the woods, away from the hustle and the bustle of the city. The creek was swollen from recent rains, and I had to navigate through thick underbrush to reach the river, but the scenery was beautiful, and the mountain was so pretty. All the flowers were blooming everywhere. As I hiked up the mountain, the trees grew taller and the air grew cooler. I felt alive, connected to nature in a way that I think everybody should be able to experience. The big rock was a massive boulder partially covered in moss and ferns. I climbed to the top, taking in the stunning view of the valley below. I spotted a doe and her fawn grazing in the clearing below. They were beautiful, and I watched them for quite a while. The sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the landscape. I settled in to watch the deer, mesmerized by their gentle movements, but then I saw something strange. A large animal leaped from the thick bushes. At first I thought it was a bear, but as it moved closer I realized it was something entirely different. Its fur was gray, thicker around the neck, and its hind legs were shorter than its front legs. The creature moved swiftly, taking down the doe, and it took it down with ease. I froze in terror, unsure of what to do. The creature stood on its hind legs, towering over the deer. Its paws looked like human hands, and that's whenever I became very, very afraid. I knew that I had to get out of there, and I wanted to be back to Grandma's fast. I retreated as silently as I could, not wanting to draw attention to myself. My heart raced as I made my way back down the mountain. I didn't stop moving until I reached my grandmother's cabin. I burst through the door, slamming it shut behind me. My grandmother looked up from her book, concerned. "What's wrong?" she asked. I tried to explain, but the words caught my throat. I couldn't shake the image of the creature, couldn't shake the image that I had just seen. My grandmother put her book down and came over to me. "What happened?" she asked gently. I took a deep breath and told her everything, the creature, the deer, the feeling of terror. My grandmother listened attentively, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she nodded thoughtfully. "I believed you," she said, "but we need to be careful. We don't know what the creature is capable of." I nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. My grandmother believed me. But as we settled in for the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that the creature was still out there, and possibly looking for me. The next day, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I kept looking over my shoulder, expecting to see the creature emerge from the woods. My grandmother noticed my behavior and set me down. She said, "Listen, I know what you saw was real," she said, "but we can't let fear take over. We need to be smart and cautious." I nodded, knowing she was right. We spent the day indoors reading and playing games, but as soon as the sun began to set, I knew my fears would soon be back to haunt me. "I'm going outside," I said to my grandmother. She looked at me worriedly. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "I need to do this." I walked outside, my heart pounding in my chest. The woods seemed quieter than usual. You couldn't even hear a bug, as if they were holding their breath. I took a deep breath and I stepped into the trees. The rustling of the leaves beneath my feet was the only sound. Suddenly a twig snapped behind me. I spun around, my heart racing. But there was nothing there. I let out a sigh of relief, and I continued walking. As I walked deeper into the woods, I began to feel a sense of peace. The trees seemed to be closing in around me, protecting me from the harm. I knew I'd never forget the creature, but I also knew that right now I was at peace, and I felt good in the woods like I always did. Maybe it wasn't around no more. I walked for hours, the sun dipping below the horizon. As I made my way back to the cabin, I felt a sense of accomplishment. I was happy. I had faced my fears and come out on top. But as I approached the cabin, I saw something that just made my stomach so sick. It flipped upside down. The creature was standing outside the cabin. Its eyes were fixed on me. I froze, my heart now pounding again in my chest. As I looked at the creature, it stood there and allowed me to walk up on it. And why I kept walking, I'm not sure. Maybe because I knew my grandma was there, it was home, or something that made me feel safe. But I looked into the creature's eyes, and that's when I saw something I had never seen before. It was looking into the window, talking to Grandma. And I saw a deep sadness in the creature's eyes, but Grandma hid. And then she acted like she wasn't talking to it, or she didn't see it. So I wasn't sure if she did see it or if she was talking to it. I was confused and afraid at the same time. The creature, it didn't move. It didn't attack. It just stood there looking at me with an almost human-like gaze. I took a step forward, my hand outstretched. And then I done the unthinkable. I spoke to it. I said, "Who are you?" as if it were a human. I asked, my voice, and a normal voice, not a loud voice, but just a normal voice. The creature cocked its head to the side as if trying to understand me, like a dog when you might talk to them, or a cat. And then in a flash of insight, I knew. I knew what the creature was and why it was here. I said to it, "You're not a monster." I said, my voice filled with wonder. "You're a guardian of the forest, like the stories Grandma told me that the Indians once spoke about. You were the First Nations guardian, wasn't you?" The creature nodded, its eyes filled with deep wisdom. And I knew that I had to help it. I had to protect the woods and the creature from those who would seek to harm them. People that see these creatures always want to kill them and hunt them. The creature nodded as if it knew I would understand. I spent the rest of the summer learning from the creature. I learned about the interconnectedness of all living things and the delicate balance of the ecosystem. It would come and visit my grandma's every evening, and it would visit with me, and Grandma was quite fine with it. I never thought a thing about it. She let me sit out there and talk to it. As it stood in the woods in the shadows, I would sit in the yard and visit with it, while I would swing or walk or just sit and scribble in the dirt. We had our every evening we had our conversations. I learned about the ancient magic that he said flowed through the woods and the secrets that lay beneath the surface. He told me secrets that if you could find a stump that had red water in it and you were to rub that all over you, that you would become invisible to everything. He started telling me all the secrets. As the summer drew to a close, I knew I had to make a choice. I could return to my old life, which I don't believe my mother wanted me anyways, because she had a drinking problem and I think probably other problems and a whole lot of boyfriends, and was never home. Or I could just stay in the woods and continue to learn from this creature. I chose to stay, and I told Grandma. She was fine with that. My grandmother actually acted like she understood. Though she was sad to see me go, she knew that I had found my true calling and that I would always be drawn to the woods, and she could tell that I now felt safe with this creature. I spent many years in the woods learning and growing alongside the creature and its family, which they called the clan. I became a guardian just like it, and together we protected the forest from harm. And though I never forgot my old life, I knew that I had found my true home. I was no longer just a boy from the city. I was a guardian of the woods. Years passed and I became a powerful guardian. My balance was better, my strength was better. I could pull myself up like a gymnast in the trees. Run, leap, jump, climb trees really, really fast. Faster than I thought even any human could. They taught me a lot of things and how to hide. How to take the elements from where you're at and to rub them on your body and to become part of the forest, to blend in. I respected everything that they done. I continued to learn from the creatures. They taught me how to make arrows and hatchets from stone. Yes, hatchets from stone and arrows. They used these tools. And together we maintained a balance of nature. But as time went on, I began to realize that there was more to my role than just protecting the woods. I had a greater purpose, one that went beyond the forest. And my forest friend told me it was time for me to go into the world soon and to teach them our ways. That's why I had been recruited. The creature sensed my unease and approached me. "You are meant for more," it said. "You must share your knowledge with others." And so I left the woods and began to travel the world, teaching others about the interconnectedness of all living things. I wrote books and gave lectures, spreading my message to anyone who would listen. And slowly but surely, people actually began to understand. The world began to change ever so slightly. People began to respect nature, to see themselves as part of the web of life. It's like I was sucking them in. And I knew that I had fulfilled my purpose. I had made a difference. But as I looked out at the world, I knew that there was still much more work to be done. And so I continued to teach, to spread my message. And though I never forgot the creature or the woods that had been my home, I knew that I had become something more. I had become a guardian of the world. I thought I had left the woods and the creature behind, but little did I know my life was about to take a dramatic turn. I met a woman in my class, and we went on a date. But things took a strange turn when she asked about the creatures I had been with in the woods. She seemed skeptical, and I sensed a hidden agenda. She revealed that she was there to gather knowledge, and accused me of teaching against God and promoting magic. I was taken back to my Christianity from a child. I asked her why she cared, and she dropped a bombshell. Everyone knew my grandmother was a witch, she said. My heart almost stopped. I was stunned. My grandma a witch? Everybody knows? I went back to the woods after that day, feeling compelled to confront the creature. But when I mentioned God, it turned on me. It hit me, yelling that I must never do that again. It told me to leave and to never return to the woods. I was so scared and hurt both physically and emotionally. I realized that I had been deceived and that the creature was not what I thought it was. I turned to Christianity once again, seeking solace and truth. I knew I had to leave the past behind and to move on. I sold Grandma's cabin. She had now passed away. Cutting ties with the woods and the creature, I was done with these lies and this deception. Looking back, I realized that I was blind to the truth. But now I see, and I'm grateful for the journey that led me to where I am today. Thank you for listening, Mike, and I'm sorry that this story was so long, but I felt that I couldn't leave any parts out that I did put into this story. I've told this story many times before, but not all of it. I thought it was time for the world to hear most of the important things of this story. Thank you for listening, Mike. God bless you in your journeys, and thank you for exposing these evil beasts. It's a very interesting story. I was very intrigued by it, very interested in it. Grandma, was she a witch? Did she have connections with the cryptids of the forest? Is all of this black magic, is it all connected? It is all the spider web that we believe it to be? Is Satan in the middle? Was it the battle for the seed? Was it the corruption and the deception? Was it the fallen angels that mated with the humans that caused the Nephilim? And then they also went even further and corrupted the DNA of other animals and fish of the sea and birds of the air, and they created all these abominations. We know that Enoch was even sent to ask God for forgiveness for these, and God said, "Not them nor their children. They are true abominations." Is this all tied together, all this black magic? Is this why that even creators and content sharers and people that have podcasts, is that why they try to take people down this dark road? Are they recruiters for these creatures? Are they defending and hiding these creatures? It really makes you wonder, and it makes me wonder. I can't wait to hear your comments on this one. And until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner, and we'll definitely see you on the next one.